Welcome to Carly Tackle's Kitchen Cabinets. Today we're going to be making the standard 24-inch deep base kitchen cabinets. In some future videos we will be making some wall cabinets that are about 12 inches deep. I want to give a shout out to Bourbon Moth Woodworking channel on YouTube. He does a great job giving you instructions on how to make these cabinets. So I am basically following his instructions. I'm using a DeWalt 10-inch table saw to cut my 3/4 inch plywood down to the proper dimensions. After I have the sides and the bottom cut, I then cut 4-inch strips. These strips will be used for the carcass as well as the toe kick plate that goes underneath the kitchen cabinets. I'm measuring the height for my sides on my plywood. Now these are going to be 31 inches tall, and I will have a 4-inch kick plate, which brings the total cabinets to 35 inches tall. To help me cut a straight line, I'm going to be using a BORA edge clamp. In order to use that properly, I need to draw 2 lines, one for the cut line and one to know where to place the clamp. I am using a Ryobi circular saw to make these cuts. I need to cut one of my 4-inch strips into 4 pieces. I will need 4 4-inch pieces that will go inside of the carcass for support. When I'm finished measuring, I'll take these over to my Bosch miter saw and cut them to the lengths that I need. The length should equal the inside width of your kitchen cabinet. I switched out my traditional blade for an 8-inch Dado Set to 3/4 inch. I'm also using a sacrifice fence. Notice the board has grooves cut out of it. I'd hate to do that to my real fence. We need to cut a dado into the bottom of our side pieces. The dado is 3/4 inch wide and a 1/2 inch tall, so you should have a 1/4 inch of plywood remaining. I'm using a scrap piece of 3/4 inch plywood to run along the dado to make sure I've cut it far enough into the board so that it's flush with the bottom of the side. Once I'm satisfied that I have it set correctly, I can continue cutting the rest of the side pieces. Now I'm making multiple cabinets here, so I will be cutting 3 more side pieces on video for you. If you know you're making multiple cabinets, it's easier to have your blade set and make all the cuts at once versus cutting one cabinet, setting your blade again for your second cabinet, setting your blade again for the third cabinet. So that's why it's easier just to do it all in one shot. Your side pieces should look like this. I removed my Dado Set and reinstalled the original blade for the saw. And now we're going to set it up for our 1/4 inch plywood back panel that's going to run through the sides and in the bottom of the cabinet. This groove is going to be a 1/4 inch deep. Keep in mind when you're working with a 1/4 inch thick plywood, chances are it's really not a 1/4 inch thick. Otherwise, I would install my 1/4 inch thick Dado Set and just make a groove. Instead, I am using my standard blade, which is an 1/8 of an inch thick, and I'm going to be making multiple passes so I would have a tight fit. If you put in a 1/4 inch dado, chances are your plywood is going to be really loose and floppy. Typically, I use a scrap wood to test my groove first before cutting my real materials. You want to make sure that the groove you're cutting is a 1/4 inch deep. You're going to run each side piece through this as well as your bottom, making sure that you're getting the sides lined up so that the groove is always in the back. You are also going to be cutting this groove into one of your 4-inch strips, and you'll see it at the end where that would go and how it all comes together. And again, I'm making multiple cabinets at the same time, so you're seeing me running through multiple side pieces and bottom pieces. Now that I finished cutting the groove into all the pieces, I need to adjust my fence so I can make that 1/8 inch groove a little bit thicker for my materials. So I start with my top piece and I run it through, and I'm kind of using this as a scrap piece here. And I take a little scrap piece of my 1/4 inch plywood and test it out to see if it fits. And as you can see, it didn't fit on the first run, so I move my fence again, just ever so slightly, and I test it to make sure that I get my good fit. Once you get your fence calibrated, you can run the rest of those materials through for their second time. If you are interested, I would highly recommend checking out the Bourbon Moth woodworking channel on YouTube. He gives great instructions on how to build kitchen cabinets and other furniture pieces, and he's quite entertaining and he keeps it short and sweet. I have learned a lot from him and highly suggest anyone interested in making these cabinets watch his videos as well. I'll include the links in the video description below. Now it's time to make some pocket holes. You're going to take the 4-inch pieces that you cut, and you're going to put 2 pocket holes at each end. And you can see I have stacks of these in the camera because I'm making multiple cabinets at a time. The one piece that you cut the groove in, make sure you're putting the pocket holes on the opposite side of the groove. And in one of the pieces, you're going to do the pocket holes on the ends and in the front. So you can see in this piece that I'm doing now, I'm doing my standard pocket holes, and then I'm going to turn it on its side and do pocket holes in the front. This is so we can attach our face plate to our carcass in a future video. I'm also going to put pocket holes in my side and my bottom pieces to allow me to attach my face plates. If you are making a cabinet for drawers, which I am, you can put your pocket holes on the inside of the cabinet because they won't be seen with drawers. However, if you're making cabinets with doors, you would definitely see these pocket holes on the inside, and you don't want that. So in this example, I'm putting my pocket holes on the outside because I plan on putting a panel piece on the sides of the cabinet so you would never see them. This next step is totally up to you. I'm taking a hand sanding block and just sanding the edges of the pocket holes so it smooths it out. Before I actually assemble this, I wanted to show you what's going to happen. You're going to take your side piece and set it on top of your bottom. You want to make sure that groove you cut in matches up in the back. I would recommend setting the bottom piece onto clamps and preparing your area before you start gluing. Apply a little glue to the bottom of your side piece and set it on top of the bottom board. These 90-degree square clamps that I'm using make building cabinets a lot easier. They can be really expensive when you figure you need 4 of them for one cabinet. I bought these right after I watched the Bourbon Moth woodworking video on cabinets, and he was right. These are a huge lifesaver when you're making lots of cabinets. Once you have the one side clamped in place and firmly against the bottom board, you can then move on to gluing the second side piece. Again, making sure you're not over gluing, just putting enough glue to cover so you don't have a lot of squeeze out. It does help to have these clamps slightly in place before adding your side. So I have that bottom clamp loosely, and then that allows me to be able to slide it quickly to where I need it, and then I can just insert that second clamp for the side piece, and it holds it together. Once you have both sides in place, you can then tighten the clamp on your bottom board, and that helps bring it together. Now, I don't just trust those clamps. I also clamp from the top down and also want to clamp at the top. I want to make sure the cabinet is square from the bottom to the top. So I'm taking one of my 4-inch boards that I cut and I'm clamping that in place. So as the glue dries, it is a square cabinet box. While the glue is drying, you can cut your 1/4 inch back panel. I'm cutting multiples again because I'm building multiple cabinets. I take a hand sanding block and sand the edges that I just cut on the side panel. Now your back panel is ready to slide in place. And now you're going to find that 1 4-inch strip that you cut the groove in, and you're going to place it on top of that panel and screw it in using the pocket holes. You're going to grab another one of those strips and install it right underneath that. This piece will be used for mounting your cabinet to your wall when it's lined up to the studs. The 4-inch strip that you cut the extra pocket holes is going to be installed in the front. To help me hold it into place, I'm using my Irwin quick grip clamps. You really want to make sure that this piece is flush with the front and the top. The last of your 4-inch strips is going to be placed at the bottom of the back side. Again, this piece will be used for mounting to your wall. To add some security and prevent your pieces from bowing when they're mounted, I am using a countersink drill bit and going to drive in 3 screws from the top into the side piece. When you're done with the top, flip your carcass over and do the same thing from your bottom. And that's it. Your base kitchen cabinet carcass is finished. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you'd like to see more in the kitchen cabinet series, please subscribe to my channel, Carly Tackles DIY, Tools and Gadgets, Tips and Tricks. Make sure you click on the bell to get notified when I release new content.